is my pleasure now to introduce our illustrious panel of community leaders, absolutely, community leaders, pioneers in what they do, and we look forward to hearing more about them on how we can work together, moving our campus and our community forward. So, we will start with Ms. Nicole Brown. Of course, we know Nicole. She is one of us. She works here at the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga in the communication department as a faculty member. Nicole also founded our student radio station, The Perch, UTC's landing station, right? And Nicole has been at the institution for a remarkable number of years, right?
A remarkable number.
A remarkable How many? How remarkable that number is.
22, 23.
Wow.
Can you imagine? Wow.
You got here when you were 5?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So thank you, Nicole, for joining us today. Looking forward to hearing what you have to share. Okay, our next panelist this morning is Ms. Dion Jennings, and she's our neighbor down the street on MLK. She's the president of the Bessie Smith Cultural Center. And Dion also serves on our Chancellor's Multicultural Advisory Council. And you'll hear that for the other two panelists as well. Okay? So Dion, how long have you been at Bessie Smith?
Almost 3 years. January will make 3 years.
All right.
And I've been on CMAC for 2 now.
There you go. And Dion is no stranger to the campus. Whether it's a student group, whether it's faculty or staff, organizations, she's a name that keeps coming up and is very, very common on our campus. So Dion, is very happy to have you here this morning and excited to hear how we can bridge more partnerships with your organization. All right. Then we have Ms. Stacy Lightfoot, and Stacy's the Vice President of the Public Education Foundation, and she's also the chair this year, incoming chair of our Chancellor's Multicultural Advisory Council. So welcome. And thank you for your service to us as a campus community and really bridging that partnership. Thank you so much, Stacy. Do you want to tell us a little about how long you've been at the Public Education Foundation?
My background is in college counseling. I've worked in public schools since 2003, but I've been working with public school students since 1999, but officially with PEF since 2009 when another organization merged with PEF. But I've been in the world of college access and college and career success since 1999.
Wonderful, and thank you so much, and that makes her very uniquely qualified for the work that we do on this campus, working with college students. Thank you, Stacy, and welcome.
Thank you, Pat.
You'll get more, hopefully. I'm sure you'll get more.
So much.
And we have a gentleman in our midst, Mr. Patrick Miles, and Patrick is from La Paz, Chattanooga. The full name is La Paz de Dios, Chattanooga, and we are very happy to have Patrick with us. La Paz, many of us may know, is an organization that works very closely with the Hispanic community in Chattanooga. And Patrick, how long have you been with La Paz?
I've been with PAS since 2015, February, March of 2015.
Right. Wonderful. So that's just over 2 years.
Right.
And so you are the Vice President for Community.
I'm the Director of Community Engagement and Strategic Partnerships, yes.
Very good. So you see, we have a very qualified panel today.
Can I add one thing to his introduction?
Yes, ma'am.
He used to work on campus. He was the assistant alumni director.
Hey.
5 years, that's correct.
Oh, just 5 years, Patrick. All right. Well, so welcome back home, Patrick, and thank you again for honoring us, all of you panelists, with your presence this morning. Okay, So the format of this discussion is we have some questions for our panelists. I will give them an opportunity to respond, and then we'll carve out time towards the end of the session for a round of Q&A. However, I like this to be dynamic and interactive. So if there is a question that you have, maybe for clarification or to go deeper with something that really resonates with you, just raise your hand and we'll give you an opportunity to talk as well. Okay? So to kick things off, this is the Mock Forward Conference, the Inclusive Excellence Conference on this campus, and this morning, just in the opening, we heard the word diversity and the words diversity and inclusion mentioned many times this morning. And so I want to ask you individually, what do you envisage? What is your understanding, your personal interpretation of diversity and inclusion as it relates to an event like Inclusive Excellence?
I'll start. I cannot, and I'm not going to take credit for this, and I cannot remember where I heard this from, but someone was trying to explain the difference between diversity and inclusion, and they said it, they framed it like this. Diversity is being asked to the party. Inclusion is being invited to the dance floor. And so when you think of it in those terms, it's not enough to just show up to something just to say you have this group represented, but it is about including that group in the dance, as part of the dance, so they can feel like they belong at the party. It's another thing to invite someone to the party and then they stand on the outskirts and watch everyone else have a good time, when they're not fully comfortable with the party because this may be their first time going. So when I think of diversity and inclusion, I think of intentionality to get people there, but also the intentionality to ensure that when people show up, that they're part of the dance, part of the conversation, part of a strategy. So whether that's education, whether that's the workforce, whether, whatever the circumstance or situation may be, that's kind of how I frame it in my mind.
Thank you.
And I agree with Stacey, and I use that same analogy, but you have to be authentic with it. You can't just throw the terms diversity and inclusion around just to say, oh, we're diverse and inclusive, if you're not authentic. Because people can see through the fog of it all, and tokenism is a word that I use. You don't want to be the token. I want to be included because of the skill set that I bring to the table. I don't want to be included simply because of the color of my skin. And so that's why we use these terms, diversity and inclusion, and it sounds great, but if you're not living the talk, then you're really not being authentic. And that's what people want, authenticity, and you have to be intentional with your authenticity.
There was power in that.
Yeah, and I think I'm coming from a space of being a native of Chattanooga, such as I share with the panelists here, and being here in higher education, which I'm passionate about, and being active in the community and seeing so many aspects of diversity and inclusion, and also coming from the media perspective of working in the radio background and seeing and hearing this word called diversity and inclusion, but I'm still missing the action behind it. And I'm just going to blatantly say it, I'm missing the action. I keep hearing and seeing this word of diversity and inclusion, and I've been here over the 20-year mark, and I'm still missing the action work, so I'm still kind of confused as I try to teach the students on this aspect of diversity and inclusion. Yes, we have our models in place and our missions in place, but I'm still missing this action word. So I'm still going to continue to challenge people and ask them what they're doing as it relates to this word of diversity and inclusion, because there's so much work to do. I'm going to continue to challenge myself as to be a voice to be at a table to say, what are we actually doing when it comes to diversity and inclusion? Because like what Dion and Stacey is saying, and it is true, we are seen as tokens at tables. And are our voices equally heard when we are the small tokens at a table of the masses, when our opinions may not be as valued, respected, heard, and those things. So yeah, that's where I am with the
She went there, right? I mean, she went like right in the beginning.
I got a hand clap, thank you!
No, that's
Hand clap!
May I
Joe?
ask a follow-up question, Nicole, please?
Oh, Q&A already, let's go.
Yes, well, it brings to mind that you're trying to, with the students, and you mentioned the missions that are in place, and the action in place, and you're trying to get them involved. How do you manage on the fact that it's easier to complain about it all than to actually do something to improve the system within our institution? I mean, what are we doing to try to get the students to understand that you can express your feelings and your opinions, but what are you going to do to make you feel better on this campus?
Yeah, so I you try to have the space of having a conversation like what we're sharing right now, and then you start asking, what do you feel comfortable doing? Who do you feel comfortable talking to be your co-champion with what your concerns are? Whether it is from a race, ethnicity, veteran status, whether it's from an LGBT status, what do you feel comfortable talking about? Who do you want to stand beside you to be your co-champion? And let's go have that conversation and go to leadership and have that conversation.
I would say this. It was my first time hearing from from Mr. Harris, and then from Stacey as well about that analogy, which I really love. I would go a little bit further, and I would just say that just to be invited to dance on the dance floor is a huge step in the right direction, but it's even a greater step when you're inviting someone to dance that does not look like you, speak like you, or even dance like you. That's even more inclusivity.
Yeah.
And that's where I would say you want to get intentionally uncomfortable to invite yourself with someone who may not look like you, dance with you, speak like you, or believe like you. That's when it really, I feel like inclusion from a personal action standpoint really comes in. It's when you have to personally take the risk to go into an environment that's not quite what you're used to and where you feel good at, but we're able to push your envelope to maybe grow a little bit more.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful analogy. You can go so deep with that analogy, really. And thank you, Patrick, for taking that a step further. We can inject the word equity into it, or the concept of equity into it, which really talks about creating that space, which talks about allowing people to dance sometimes, to bring music as well, and really giving people that opportunity to really engage with each other. So thank you very much for sharing with us a little about how you frame equity and diversity in your mind.
Can I mention something, because I actually wanted to ask Dion something. It's around authentic,
yes.
Being authentic, and what authenticity means when you're thinking about diversity and inclusion. Honestly, what it means is that you care. Not that you have all of the answers, but that you are willing to say, we know we need more diversity. We know we need to be more inclusive. I'm going to invite you to the table, and I need you to help us figure that out.
Yeah.
It's the authentic part is really caring, but not necessarily having it figured out. And I think sometimes people put pressure on themselves, and it prevents them from moving forward because they don't know how to have the conversation. So that's to Dion's point. There's something about what you said that that makes me want to push back. It's it's about complaining, but if people don't know where to go to, who to go to, then they don't feel like they have a voice. And their voice sounds like complaints to the people who don't have the same complaints, who don't live the same kinds of lives or have the same kinds of issues. And so it sounds like a broken record. Why are they always complaining? Why are they out, you know? So it's almost like the oppressed, whatever group you want, that it's almost as if the pressure is on the oppressed to figure it out when it's not. And especially when you talk about students who are 18 and 19 years old and they're growing up not really in an environment where they are learning in an appropriate way how to express their voices. You know, back in the day, you know, my mom had Martin Luther King, you know what I mean? There were examples of people who were eloquent when they spoke, who knew how to, you know, really get their points across. And I don't think, especially young people in this generation, have those kinds of examples to turn to. And then when you do turn to someone, you may be turning to someone on your campus. If you're a college student, turning to someone on your campus who also may feel disenfranchised. So now, you know, you're in a pool of disenfranchised faculty members, disenfranchised students, and you all have no voice. So it sounds like a bunch of whining and complaining. But it's not the responsibility of the oppressed to figure it out. So that's what I wanted to say.
The squeaky wheel doesn't get oiled. So if I'm sitting there quiet and I'm not sharing that I'm feeling oppressed, if I'm not sharing with you that I'm not feeling like it's all equitable and inclusive and diverse, then nothing ever happens and it never changes. And then you have a group of students that come through, they graduate, they leave, but they don't come back. And then you bring in another group of students who come through, they say nothing, they graduate, they leave, and they don't come back. But if you bring them in and you show that their concerns are valid, and you help them find ways to address them, and you provide opportunities for more students, now they're bringing in other students. They're bringing in a more diverse culture. They're bringing in students from their community, like UTC is the place, because they get it, they understand it, and they're willing to help you through it.
Well, may I ask, in regards to the analogy of the squeaky wheel, within our system, who's responsible to go get the oil? Because we say the oil's right here to take care of it. Am I supposed to be within their administration, their support, go get it and oil it for them, or help them find the oil so they can oil it themselves?
I think as leaders, it's kind of all of the
Everybody.
above.
Sure, yeah.
It's all
So
of
we
the
pick up the
above.
whole can together.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I'm going to take your hand. Where are you feeling disenfranchised? What's not working for you? Well, let's figure out together
Let
how
me
to work
connect
that
you
out.
to this person. It's about
Exactly.
caring. Like, you don't have to figure, you don't have to have the answers, right? But if someone knows that you are willing to help them find it, it's everyone's responsibility. And I work in public education, and I liken what you've asked to, whose responsibility is it to really build the city up, right? It's everybody's responsibility. And if everyone keeps thinking it's someone else's responsibility, guess what? It's no one's responsibility.
Right.
So even if there is a piece or part that you can play, whether your piece or your role or your purpose in a certain situation or with a certain group is to lead them to the next person who can get them closer to the answer, then you've done your job, right? And that person, that student or whomever can look back at you and say, thank you.
And hopefully they find that they meet another student who's got the same issues, they take them and should guide them.
Yeah.
Correct?
But it is the responsibility of everyone to bring up this institution. If you all are part of this institution, if you're part of this community, it's responsibility of everyone to bring up this community. It's UTC's responsibility to bring up Chattanooga. It's La Paz's responsibility to bring up Chattanooga. It's PEF's, it's the cultural center, it's the media department, it's the student voice on the radio. It's everyone's responsibility. And it really is about finding your passion. We talk to students about finding passion and purpose. We also have to have the passion and purpose, especially if we're on a college campus, to believe in the students and the faculty members in which UTC serves. So.
Thank you. And that's a great segue into my next question about finding our passion and finding our journey. And so I want to give you an opportunity to share with us what your journey has been, whether from an undergraduate student or your first job, whatever. Who's inspired you? What has inspired you to do the work that you do in bringing diversity and inclusion and education and equity and all of these fundamental concepts to the forefront?
I'll start off here. As you can tell, I'm not Latino, right?
No, you could.
I could be Latino,
Easily.
especially if I lived in Argentina, Uruguay, or some other place where they have a more European sort of background. But thank you for saying that.
You're welcome.
Because I teach that all the time. But I'm not Latino. and so sometimes, and I struggle sometimes when I'm asked to speak at events like this. But then I'm quickly reminded by my staff that you're the actually perfect person to come and speak at events like this. And honestly, I think it comes down to being placed in and purposely placing myself in opportunities where I need to learn. So the reason why I work at a Latino organization is because I spent 4 years in the Dominican Republic. I lived in a different culture where they spoke a different language. And I intentionally, as Ron Harris said, put myself into that environment. So I became a minority. And I loved that experience. I needed to know what that felt like. I needed to know how I'm viewed when I walk into a community and everybody looks different than I do, and they all start to stare. It kind of gave me a better perspective to know, to come back here to Chattanooga to then know how I could relate to those who are in a minority. I mean, I'm a middle American white male. I mean, I am the majority in every sort of category. And so for me to understand the other side of that, I had to purposefully put myself into that. And so I think that experience has led me to be in a place where I feel like I can maybe even do what you're saying over here is provide access for at least the Latino community in my current role to be heard, that I can voice something, and because of the way I look, because of who I am, because of my history in Chattanooga, just because of my the skin color, honestly, and my gender, it gives me a platform that I could say, oh wait, I'm here in this platform, but it's not for me. I'm here because it's for them. And so I want to provide my voice, or at least a place for their voice to be heard through my environment, if that makes sense. So, but I think it's an intentional aspect. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I just have to mention, almost every Latino or Hispanic in the Chattanooga area that I speak to, they know Patrick. So you're using that platform.
I never would have thought that 8 years ago. That's crazy.
Okay.
I'll try to make this quick, but poor black girl, grew up in the east side of Chattanooga, went to school at Arts and Science. Education was my way out. Came from a single parent home. My mother made $11,000 when I graduated from high school, but I was a really good student, and Susan Chipley, who was my school counselor, my college counselor, she's a white woman, introduced me to various colleges that she knew were a good fit for me. So I went to a small private liberal arts college in Greencastle, Indiana, in the middle of some cornfields, and had a very interesting experience at a predominantly white institution as, an African American female from the South. But DePaul knew what to do with a black girl like me. I graduated in 4 years, got a full scholarship to attend college all 4 years, and fell in love with the world of nonprofit when I graduated from college. I studied abroad, I lived abroad, I got my master's degree abroad, really fell in love with the world of understanding other cultures and what my place is in the world. And then I quickly, at a very young age, in my mid-20s, found my purpose, and it was to be a Susan Chipley to other students in helping students in the public schools find colleges and post-secondary pathways that are the best fits for them. So whether that's 2-year, 4-year apprenticeship program, it's understanding who the student is, their family situations, and helping them navigate the appropriate path to find the best fit. DePaul University was the best fit for me, and I don't think it's the best fit for everyone, but I just take pride and I enjoy in working with students and families, helping them navigate that pathway. So that's my purpose and passion, and that's what I do now at PEF through a myriad of college access and success programs, and most recently an internship program for low-income public school students, where we're connecting them to work at businesses they have the biggest barriers to success, collegiate success, career success. So intentionally placing low-income students, white, black, brown, whatever, with business leaders like Dion at UTC. UTC had interns, and exposing them to the world of work so they can see what their place is in this world and how an institution or business or an organization could, add to their lives. Was that quick?
Yeah.
Oh, okay then, thank you.
We're good on time, so thank you.
So for me, I was born in Philadelphia, lived in an all-black community, went to an all-black school. My parents divorced when I was 8 years old. My mother and I moved from Philadelphia to Colonial Heights, Virginia, one of 3 black students in an all-white school, and it was a culture shock for me. And that's what it was pretty much throughout elementary school, middle school. There were a few more black students. High school, same number of students. We probably made up 10% of the school. So I had to readjust, going from an all-black community to being this minority and not really knowing how to deal with it. And not only that, they were putting me in these special groups for kids with divorced parents or for minority students only. And I thought, what the hell? I mean, really? And my mother kept saying, you don't need these classes. You don't need that. Stop putting my daughter in these groups. And I'm like, well, I'm getting out of class, so it's really not that bad. But she kept saying, no, don't let them put you in a box. And I'm not going to let them put you in a box. So then teachers started reaching out to me and seeing things in me that I didn't see in myself. And then I became an adult, and I realized other people were seeing things in me that I didn't necessarily see in myself. And one day I became a mom, and it just clicked. And I started to see what my mother saw, what my teachers saw. And it was like, I need to start taking advantage of all these opportunities and trust and believe opportunities are always being laid out like a red carpet. And I always call myself the golden child. I mean, that's just my name for myself because I feel blessed and I use that opportunity to bless others. So if I take all of my advantages and opportunities and only keep them to myself, what good is that doing to the rest of the world? So I have to give back. I have to pull others back. I have to show students that I can tell they don't see the value in themselves. I have to show it to them. And I have to share my story with them so that they can understand their story and get to be the great people that they're destined to become, whether that's a college student, a high school student, or an elementary student. I walked into a school one day where they asked me to be a speaker, and there were probably 90% Latino students. They were all girls, and it was about 10% black students, females, and my hair was natural at the time, and I walked in and I said, my hair's a hot mess, it's all natural, but guess what? Guess what I do for a living? And then they sat up like, really? And then I shared my story, and then I could see that the wheels were turning. And so I told them, don't let someone put you in a box. Don't let someone else write your story. Write your own story. Think about who you want to be and start working toward that and find the people that can help you get there. And so that's why I do what I do, because I was not going to be in this box, this little black girl from divorced parents in an all-white school, and let people define who I was, because that's not who I am, and that's not why I am where I am today, is because I wrote my own story.
All right, Dion.
Stacey.
Nobody else knows
I
that?
know this woman, and so
I'm just real. I feel good.
Oh, they pointed to me, so I guess you want to hear. You all know Michael Jackson, Prince, Janet Jackson?
Yes.
Okay, so this is my story of playing the music on the radio. I'm having a good time and did not understand the platform that you have in the media until I started meeting the listeners, the little people, listeners, and they're looking at you and you seeing this hope. Hope. You keep seeing this hope, and then I'm thinking, you looking at me for that? I'm the one trying to have a good time. Don't look for me as that mentor person. So I had to understand that I'm a first generation college graduate. I'm on the radio. You got these little people depending on you. I'm merging into UTC and higher education. I'm working here, and then voila, this is something passionate. This is education. You have an opportunity here. UTC, if you work here, they'll pay for your education. I ended up being recruited, manhandled, and everything else. So go get your degree, bachelor's degree. So I took advantage of that. I was like, hey, it's free, let's go for that. But I'm still on the radio having a good time. And then the platform started changing of my passion. I'm done playing these records. I want to educate my community. I want to empower them to do something better. I want to show them the steps that I was not shown. And so ended up working in, I'll give you a fast track of working in equity and diversity as the coordinator and providing opportunities for international students and minority students to have access to higher education through graduate assistantships, empowering them to get their graduate school paid for, and they get a stipend, they get to work for faculty and have opportunities, and then you're going, wow, this thing is really powerful, where you can empower so many people that will impact not just themselves, but their families and their generations down the line, and working in equity and diversity and seeing the need to continue to do so much more, because this institution was created in 1886, and to meet the first minority graduate from University Chattanooga, who was not admitted at the time he first applied, and this man was a college president, and you're beginning to feel the weight on your shoulders, and that's some serious weight, and you're beginning to really understand what this platform was, and you got to say goodbye to that person that was dancing on the radio having a good time. That day is over. You have to begin to take your role seriously, take your platform seriously, because there's so much work to do. Dr. King is gone. Sojourner Truth is gone. Those people are gone. Who are you looking to? And why are you looking to? Start being somebody today. Look to yourself, look in the mirror. That's what you have to deal with. So if you can help somebody today deal with that. The work of equity and diversity is tough. I know that because I was there for a long time. But you can empower and help so many people. And then for me to transition to the communication department and deal one-on-one with the students, I love the couch in my office because I get a chance to empower those students one-on-one, and they can go out, and when they graduate, they will be able to not just empower themselves, their parents, their children, and their generations of their families to come. And so I'm not new to this, I'm true to this. I know how my mother, when she walks into the building that I work in called Frist Hall, that's the building that she could not walk in the front door to. And she's a native of this city too. So this is not just something that I'm taking lightly. When I walk into the front door every day, I am empowered. My grandmother was illiterate. One of my grandmothers could not read. I have an opportunity every day. So yeah, this is serious for me. I'm done.
Wow. Thank you.
Oh, I didn't do that for that. I mean, I appreciate that, but
That's fine.
yes.
Can I ask a follow-up question for Mr. Miles?
Yes, sir.
And you're going to the Dominican, you said you went to a place to experience being in more of the minority. My question to you, sir, is that were you already proficient in their language?
Not at all.
Okay, so that made it worse, did it not?
It made it much worse. So like, but I'm the type of person who, and I'm still like this in my office. So I don't mind making a fool of myself. So I don't mind getting out there and verbally vomiting all over the place, because that's for me is the way to learn. My wife, on the other hand, is someone who's a little bit more shy to speak, but quick to listen, which is fantastic. Person I married up. For that, for sure. She's the wise one. So together as a team, we did great. Individually, it was difficult for me for the first year and a half. But just going out and just giving an effort to even learn a language was pretty crucial for me. And so when people honestly hear and Chattanooga ask about trying to learn Spanish or trying to learn a different language, I just said, just do it. Let people laugh at you. Who cares? It's like a dance floor. Go out and dance. Go out and dance. Even if it might be you're going to only be better if you continue to dance. And so for speaking a language and even understanding a culture, it's about getting out there and continuing to put yourself in that environment and utilizing what you do know, being open to correction, which I think is the big one, and then actually turning and making those adjustments as you go along.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
So our motto at UTC is students first, right? We're here to serve the students. We're here to help them and help mold them and prepare them for the working world and for the job market. How do you express diversity as a business imperative? How would you express that to students? how important it is for them to accept the invitation to the dance, put themselves out there and be prepared, and allow themselves to be prepared for the job market.
If I can start, we most recently, PEF, in collaboration with Benwood Foundation and Blue Cross and Blue Shield, who were champion funders of our Step Up Chattanooga program. Step Up Chattanooga is a robust high school internship program for Chattanooga public school students, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. We train those, they're nominated by their school counselors or administration. They are trained for 8 hours on 21st century work-ready skills, soft skills, how to shake people's hands, how to look people in the eye, giving a 2-minute speech, how to introduce yourself, mock interviews, resume writing, you name it. We take those students and we train this year. We just finished our second year. We take those students and we introduce them to business leaders through a mock interview session. So they go through a series of activities and milestones before they are matched to an employer. We have a man in our office we stole from UTC, Dr. Rector, who's the business partnerships manager, who goes out to businesses saying, hey, we've got students who need to come and work in your companies. They've not been introduced to your pipeline, your career industry, and they're public school students. All of them are low income, and they will not have this opportunity without you. Most, I was just about to say that, most students from middle class and wealthy backgrounds have social capital. Their parents are able to call their friends because their child is interested in law, and their parent is able to call one of their friends and get that student an unpaid internship at a law firm so they can see what the world of law looks like and how it works. Or their church members knows a doctor because their students are interested in doctors. So students from middle class backgrounds and upper class backgrounds have a type of social capital that low income students do not have. They have a village of supporters and people who want them to succeed. They just don't know all of the pieces and how to connect those students to the next steps. And so what Step Up Chattanooga does is just that. So the business model really is taking public school students and introducing them to the world of work. But even more than that, it's introducing those businesses to the talent that lie in our public schools. When you think of a public school student, I know this used to be the saying that people had, 20 years ago. If you want your child to go to college, send them to private school. If you want them to go to work, you send them to public school. So we have to fight public perception of what a public school student can do. And this program has changed lives in so many ways by introducing students to working alongside Robert Young at Chatham, working alongside Dion at the Bessie Smith Cultural Center, creating mentorships and letting these businesses know that, my goodness, there is talent in Chattanooga that I have not tapped into. I can diversify my applicant pool when they're ready to get a full-time job. I don't have to train them. I've already spent $7.25 an hour on them. So, working with them as a young student. So that's one of the ways in which PEF partners with the community. UTC had interns. The first year Step Up was last summer. We placed 76 students in 46 businesses. This was the second year of Step Up. We placed 153 students in 97 businesses. So we are changing lives in such a dramatic way, and I think the businesses are actually blown away by the benefit that they are getting from this, because you think of like, oh, this is going to be so great for the students, but what these employers are walking away, and what the work site mentors who create the daily schedules for these students are walking away probably equally, if not more, impacted, because we were able to kind of marry public school students with these private sector or public sector businesses. So that's what we're doing.
Can I just ask a quick follow-up?
Yes.
I'm from Maine, so moving south was a cultural experience for me. But I was really shocked. I have a 3-year-old daughter, so we're not into the school system yet. But I was shocked at the amount of private institutions in Chattanooga, because I'm from rural Maine, and there's one high school and everyone went there. How do you see this extreme diversity in the different schools affecting the community overall in your position specifically?
Oh, wow. I think we all see it.
Yeah.
I think we all see it. There are pockets of poverty. Our school system is zoned unless you go to a magnet school. So if you live in a poor area, You're going to a school with a lot of poor students, and I mean, it affects, poverty affects this city in so many ways. The housing structure and the affordability of housing. If a family wants to move somewhere nicer, they can't because they can't afford it. They're underpaid. They're under. It's not underskilled. I forgot what the chamber calls it. But when you're just, you know, when you have a parent, and that parent is 40 or 50 or 60 years old and they can't make over $10 an hour because there's no place that will hire them. So you're talking about a cycle that needs to be broken, and it doesn't just stop with the schools and the families. I mean, it really does involve workforce as well. We see the effects of that in just about, I mean, every school. I mean, it is no surprise, it's not a shock that schools are segregated in Chattanooga. You got all black schools, all, you know, where students of color, a lot of poor, you know, poor schools, and then you have people who can afford to move to North Chattanooga and send their kids to Normal Park. You have people who can afford to move to East Hamilton and send their kids to East Hamilton, but then you have like these homogenous pots of people. It's not that people don't care, it's just a very, very tough problem to solve when you're only looking at it as an education problem. It's also a housing problem. It's also a breaking the cycle of poverty problem. It's a workforce development problem. And whose responsibility is that? Everybody's looking at the school to fix it, the city to fix it, C&E to fix it, you know? So, I mean, there's so much that I can say about that. There are people who are working, who are chipping away at it as best as they can, and I'll tout, you know, PEF's a couple of our programs, but we work with, you know, 50 students in this program, 150 in that program. Well, there are 44,000 students in our city. We can't even do it all, but what we're doing with the 50 is great. You know, so it's, you know, it really, like, that's why I love conferences like this, just to sit down and have a conversation with people so you understand what the issues are, and, you know, and hopefully by the time my 7-year-old gets into middle school that, you know, there's a good fit school that I can send him to, or by the time your daughter gets into first grade that you have a choice about where you send your students. Right now, unfortunately, a lot of people who have choice, you know, who make choices are people who have money.
Yeah.
There is no black middle class in Chattanooga. I mean, that's a random thought, but there is no black middle class.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
So in a recent survey for higher education, it says the benefits of a higher education degree have been characterized in 3 clusters: economic or earning potential, adult literacy and civic engagement, and crime reduction. What, in your opinion, is the greatest need of Chattanooga of those 3? Economic and earning potential, adult literacy and civic engagement, or crime reduction?
I mean, I feel like I am monopolizing this conversation.
Well, I would say, I mean, I'll just speak for the Latino
least for the
community. Yeah, the adult education is a really big one, but I'm just speaking mainly because, so the Latino community in Chattanooga, then there's really 2 groups that we're talking about. We have a largely lower income indigenous Latino community member who comes here who has very limited education, maybe 2nd grade, 3rd grade level education. That's probably about 75% of our Latino community members fall in that category. And they come from really small rural indigenous communities where honestly, Spanish is their 2nd language, where a Mayan language is their 1st language. If you didn't know that, the Guatemalan community is the largest community in Chattanooga. The largest, Guatemalan.
Not Mexican, thank you.
Not Mexican, Guatemalan is. And so of that community, they primarily speak a Mayan, like Mayan, okay? This is Native American, yes, Native American, ancestry. They're still speaking these languages today. And so Spanish is their 2nd language, English is their 3rd. And yet, so you have these, you know, people, adults who have taken a risk to move to another culture, another country, who have limited education and are working on a 3rd language, but their skill sets aren't there. And there's a gap between what they have access to and their skill level and understanding level to those around them. and that gap continues to increase and grow. Even technologically, it is a huge. That's even worse. Most of the members of that particular community have never turned on a computer, ever. So we're in the United States, it's a very computer-driven, society here. So there is a lot to go as far as adult education in regards to that. Now adult education will lead to economic stability down the road, but there also has to be opportunity for that to take place as well.
Can you tell us a little more, Patrick, as far as La Paz and how La Paz meets the needs of those of these individuals?
So La Paz in general is an agency that helps. Our biggest mission is to connect people to resources. And that's the biggest thing that we do. So we work very intentionally to work on partnerships where we can, depending on who comes in our doors, we can just turn right around and connect them to the right people. But we're also about advocacy and inclusion. So we will, our base is social services. We're a case management firm. That's how we started out when the Latino community first came to Chattanooga and was growing. You had a large percent started to go to Partnership for Family, Children, and Adults, or started to go to the police department, and a lot of people just did not know how to respond to them. They didn't know the language, they didn't know how to culturally identify with them. So La Paz initially just started by being a social services agency. Now we've kind of grown, we are still that, but we've kind of grown out of that to also being a little bit more advocacy and education driven. So now we go, and one of our biggest things we do now is to go into other agencies to help them build their capacity to better serve and include the Latino community. So it could be right now, for example, we're working with the YMCA to help them improve just their membership platform. Are they actually putting out their material in appropriate Spanish? Are they actually marketing in the Latino community? We're doing that the same thing with businesses who are starting to realize that, hey, well, there's a market that we're not even tapping into here, and you have to approach that market in a unique way. And so then they start thinking about other strategies. Do we hire someone hire someone that is maybe Latino, that can speak about your product, your services in a unique way. So that's some of what we do.
I do want to, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. In regards to your programs, and I've seen many outreach communities that teach English as a second language.
Mm-hmm.
What about Spanish as a second language for those of us who don't speak the language,
For sure.
to help us to better communicate and willing to learn the language as we
Great.
talked about?
Yep.
Are there programs out there
Yes.
so I can learn Espanol?
Absolutely.
Beyond muy, mucho, poquito.
Yes. Yes, there are. In fact, there are some great partnerships. There's more and more coming to that, to Chattanooga. So like the Chattanooga School of Language is one where we always point. In fact, the director of that institution is a former La Paz employee. That's one. There's a place now called Language South that they're starting. So a lot of times you look at camps, residential camps, as a great opportunity for students to learn outside of the classroom, where it's everyday usage. And so Language South is this new residential camp model where they use language as the platform, but they're still having fun and doing regular camp activities, but they're also doing that for adults. That's on their business model down the road. So there are opportunities to definitely learn Spanish. You can come to us, and again, that's what we do. We connect people to the resources, and we're not doing that just for the Latino community. So yeah, I would say come to us and we can help you get to the right people.
I just want to have a quick comment because you asked us about the 3 pillars that we, think are important. But for those of us who do have education behind us, and we may have, this is not me, I'm not saying I have money, but you all have money. Lots of it if you put it together. The economic point, you're seeing all of this development happening in your town, when I say your town because you're paying taxes here. And can you actually afford to go and live in the place that you're seeing being developed? This is where I'm going with the economic piece, because we are looking at certain areas of making sure people are empowered, but what are we doing to make sure that we are continuing to be empowered? Or are we stuck in a place too? When you talk about diversity and inclusion. So you're seeing all these new places being developed, can we actually afford to live there?
Right.
Are you asking those questions? When you see new things being developed downtown MLK, because my grandmother lived on MLK, and you're seeing all these new businesses happening. How many are these minority-owned businesses? How many are these female-owned businesses? Because it looks like the landscape is changing. Are you asking the questions? Are you willing to go and be a part of that system? So I'm a little bit more of the economic, because that brings wealth for generations to come. So if we're not addressing this today, then what's going to happen 5-10 years down the road? Oh, now you're going to complain. Now you want to have another meeting for what? Because you're seeing it happening today, and what are you doing today to address this that's going to happen 5-10 years down the road? I'll be quiet.
No, I actually wanted to elaborate a little on what you said on the economic side, especially as it relates to MLK. At the Bessie Smith Cultural Center, our mission is to preserve the history and heritage of African Americans from Chattanooga, and we do that through art, education, research, and entertainment. But I see us also as a resource for the African American community. So I started my role in January of 2015, and by the end of 2016, I watched 10 African American businesses go out of business. 10. And that was very sad, especially with the majority of those businesses being on MLK, who they were primarily there to serve the African American community. So what we did as a resource was we partnered with other organizations like the Chamber of Commerce, like Launch Chattanooga and SunTrust Bank, and we provided an opportunity for African American entrepreneurs to come in and get connected to the right resources, not only to help them start new businesses, but to sustain those businesses once they were open. Because one thing that these businesses don't have is the economic empowerment to remain open. So it's great to have a wonderful idea and to open a business, but how do you sustain it? So we wanted to make sure that we provided that resource, because many of those business owners would come to us and say, I don't know where to get help. And there are many, many organizations out there to help. So we brought in 14 organizations that were there specifically to help them get a loan, to write a business plan, to just to find ways to be sustainable, engagement with their customers. And we had a panel, and those panelists shared what it was to be a business owner and how they were able to be successful. So you're right, economic empowerment is a big one in our community, especially as it relates to the African American community. You can open all the businesses that you want, but if you can't keep those doors open and you can't serve your community, what good is it doing? And so when you talk about equity and equality, I mean, we have to be fair and equitable in all that we do. It's great you're giving all these new businesses opportunities to open a new business, but where were you when those other businesses were closing? Why weren't you providing those same resources to those struggling businesses to keep their doors open? And to me, that says something major. There is a reason that those business owners were not helped to keep those doors open.
Because I drive down, I'm looking at new construction downtown. As I do that, I'm stalking. And I'm looking at how many minority vendors are actually doing the construction. I'm watching, and I'm trying to see what this community is doing, because there's this movement that's happening, but then what are we really doing? Well, we can get together and come for a meeting, but then what do we do? Are we action oriented? And you all know the answer to that.
It was good to hear that, like, for Tyler's department, that UTC has got a huge supply chain from minority business. I love that. I think that's something that the university should be touting a lot. So it's a step in the right direction. So that's action. So, but there needs to be more of it.
Still hold people accountable.
Right. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
So this leads to my other question. What have you seen UTC doing in terms of bridging and fostering those partnerships with the community? And what strategic opportunities do you see that we can get involved with, whether faculty, staff, or students?
Well, we're partnering on a research project that me and my colleague are doing with the Bessie Smith Culture Center, and it involves some students, and it's preserving arts, culture. So we're happy about that partnership. So I'm happy about that.
And we're also partnering with the Office of Multicultural Affairs to bring some opportunities for students to bring them on MLK, because I think there's this stigma that MLK is not a safe place for students at UTC, and we beg to differ. So we're doing some things to bring those students off campus and onto MLK, and just having that level of engagement. But partnering with Nicole and her colleagues, I mean, you really have to get together and have strategic talks and partnerships. You can't just say, oh, we want to do it. Like Nicole said, you have to put action behind it. We're there, we're open, we're a resource, and we want you to come in and work with us on different things.
So part of CMAC, the conversation that I am really excited to have at our next meeting, and we're getting together with the political science department, is to have a conversation about the university's responsibility to make this a safe and welcoming campus for every student, every faculty member. What does that mean? What does that look like? And what is the conversation around it in this current political climate? I mean, whether you want to, I cannot imagine being a college student this day and age. I cannot imagine being a college student. I can't imagine being on a faculty during this day and age. So what are the conversations like when, you know, controversial speakers come in, and or there's, you know, derogatory saying written on the sidewalk, or if a student, you know, says something derogatory about a student. So what is the campus's response to that? So those are conversations that we are going to start having as part of the Chancellor's Multicultural Advisory Committee. Another random thing that the university can do is like hire more interns for Step Up. Okay, so another thing another thing that the university can do, the university has a really good percentage of students of color here. What are we doing to ensure that those students of color are coming back for the second year? What systems are there in place for those students to succeed within 6 years? We know all the reports that I've seen come out of Chattanooga 2.0, and I'm in education, so this is the language that I speak, that UTC does not have a high graduation rate for African American males, for African American students. Chattanooga State has a 5% graduation rate for African American students. Like, what are institutions nationally doing around ensuring if you accept a student to your campus, what are you doing to ensure that they stay and that they are successful? You have to be extremely, extremely uncomfortably intentional about, if you welcome me into your house, you have to feed me dinner and ensure that I'm full and that I'm sustained here. So having those conversations with people is, I think, something that I can help with, along with friends who are on the CMAC committee or the committee members as well. So.
And I would say advocating as far as the local Latina community goes and the students, I would say UTC is not very good with their Latino representation. We're about 2 or 3%. You probably know the numbers. If you look at all your universities and colleges around our area, there's one surprise out there, and that's Southern Adventist University. 25% of their enrollment. 25%. That's remarkable. Now, some of that is they are much smaller. They're private, so you can also, the socioeconomic aspect of that is probably very different as well. But they're intentionally recruiting in Latin American places, well, for their particular case, in Latin American countries. But what can we do to advocate? Can the university has a platform where they can be advocating for better access to higher education for Latino students? And well, that's a hot topic right now with DACA and with everything else that's going on in the news. You know, is the right to an education for public education. And who has that right? Well, right now, anybody has a right to K through 12 education. Anybody, whether you're undocumented, whether you're documented. But the moment that you want to attend a public institution of higher education, well, now I can't attend. Because you've just outpriced the opportunity. Going back to economics again. So, you know, what can the university do to actually say this is not only good for our student body, but it's actually good for our state and our community, because the more that we allow our students to to access higher education, the more education they'll have. That which will lead to, again, raising them potentially out of poverty as well, which will break somewhat of a cycle.
So Patrick mentioned Southern Adventist University, and I wanted to say UTC needs to get out there and reach out to the community and not wait on us to come to you. Because I can tell you the name of every development coordinator at Southern Adventist University. They come to me all the time asking, how can we help you? They're in Collegedale, and I'm on MLK right down the street from UTC. But they come to me and say, what can we do? They invite me to all of their events. We're going to be there tomorrow to go recruit volunteer students from different groups to see how we can get engaged with their students. But they're always on my phone, in my email, at my door, trying to figure out how they can partner with us. Every year for MLK Day, they provide students. We've had over 100 students from Southern Adventist University come out to the Bessie and volunteer for the last 3 years. But they come to us. I'm only one person. I can't always go out there and actively recruit. But if you come to me, my door is open and I'm willing to find ways to partner. So that's something that I think we could work on here at the university is it doesn't just take one person to go out and have all of your faculty and staff reaching out. Because like I said, development, they're typically not the ones doing the community engagement and volunteerism, but I can name every last one of their development officers because those are the ones reaching out to me. And that's how they're getting what they need, their return on investment, because they know that if we get engaged, now she'll come out and she'll bring people our way. So don't wait on us to come to you. If you have something and you want to bring it to us, come to us. Our doors are open and we're willing to partner, but we can't always seek you out to find the right people to get engaged with on your campus.
I think what you're seeing too, because I see two hats because I'm in the community and I work here at UTC. I think what at UTC, we all are doing a lot, but we're not funneling that into one message. And so we have our bubbles where we are doing exactly what you all are suggesting, but it's not funneled in where everybody sees the message. And so maybe we can come together as the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga and make sure we funnel our message out where the community sees that, because we are individually and departments, we are doing a lot. And I see some heads nodding, but we probably need to make sure, maybe with CMAC, we can make sure that message is funneled out where more people are seeing that. Because I hear and I see so many people doing these individual things, and you go, why didn't you tell the university about that? Oh, I don't know, I'm just doing it. Don't just do it. Tell them so it can be published so other people will see what you're doing. Because it's kind of disheartening to hear this message here, and I'm thinking, they don't know that so-and-so is doing this. Like the Student Support Services has the highest graduation rate for black males on this campus and has historically done that. But, you know, who would know that? Cheryl Golston has done a phenomenal job with their program. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I know that because I worked at Egerton University. So it's just about getting the message out.
So email me if you need me.
Is that Sarah?
Yes.
That's one of my students right here.
Yes. Can I ask a question? Nicole, you know I love action. I'm all about the action, being a theater person. Got to commit to it. So I had a question about action steps, and I think right now the answer for at least us at the Southeast Center is to reach out more to CMAC. We've done a lot of great things with the debate program and different things. We've even rethought our fieldwork model in the arts, where instead of just going to the schools that have those programs, let's go to the schools that don't, because it's a win-win, because our students they're getting the reality of the field. Of not every school has access to the opportunities that those students that are coming here to pursue those dreams have, and to be the person who is able to open that door. But what's hard for us is we're so passionate about getting the work done, we're the worst at getting our story out. That's the biggest problem that we're trying to solve. And so it sounds like the action step for us is not just the story with university relations, it's reaching out to CMAC, it's reaching out, you're getting an email from me like right now to reach out to. Yeah, I've been writing out all the email addresses. Is it just us reaching out? Is that the initial thing that we can do right here, right now?
So do you have social media within your department?
We do.
Personal design. So
you like friend everybody.
Yeah, you friend everybody, you tag the university, you at UT Chattanooga when you do a Twitter post, you know, you help to get that message out, you tag CMAC or, you know, PEF, you know, making sure that you get those messages out. And that will help, because when I'm doing things with the student radio station, the Perch, I'm tagging the dean of students, because you're going to see this, that I have somebody from UNM, I have somebody from all these organizations here on this campus building these partnerships. I want to make sure at UT Chattanooga sees it. Now, whether you retweet it, I don't care, but I want to make sure that you all know that you saw that happening here on this campus. So it's about, like what you're saying, making sure people see it. And if you need a intern, let me know. I'm co-internship director, Dr. Jack Zippers in the back. Department head. We'll help you if you need an intern.
And there you go. As far as a lot of the things I've been hearing, I'm sorry I got hung up on the department, came a little late, but so many of the issues we have are communications issues. I see Dr. Baptiste here. One thing we would love to do is start a communications club agency to handle your outreach. We have a lot of students, and I know the chancellor is all about engagement. We have the students. It's a matter of providing the infrastructure to connect your activities to the greater community. So don't hesitate to let Nicole or me know about your ideas. We need the people to make those connections, and we are here as on the department level and as far as student development to build that infrastructure to let people know about the activities you do and to build that community. And it is a big project we would love to facilitate. So anyway.
So I can tweet that out.
And walk forward.
I want to follow up. You made a really good comment, I think, on CMAC. As we've had the Chancellor's Multicultural Advisory Council for several years, but I think sometimes the reaching out, what people think is reaching out is send CMAC a list of all the activities that are going on.
Right.
And that's not how we want that to work. And so I think with Stacy's help, we're gonna change that, because it is a group of people, Ron Harris is on it, is a group of people that can connect you anywhere with anything. I mean, we've got these three fantastic panelists on there as well. And so we got to figure out how to reach out, and then how to engage them, because they are all wanting to be engaged. But it's not just saying, hey, come to my event.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, perfect sense.
Yeah.
No, because I think that's what we assume.
Yeah.
That we just send the email, hey, here,
Right.
imitate, but we've got to do more.
We got to be intentional.
We've learned a lot in the last 3 years since in my role at the center. Going out is so important. You can't assume that with anybody, that when you invite them, they'll come. You've got to show up. And I also have really appreciated what you were saying, Patrick, about it's okay to put yourself out there and to make the mistakes, because you're not going to learn unless you put yourself out there. And you gotta just let go of offending people, because if you're doing it with the heart, an authentic heart to serve, and you care and you really want to connect, I think people read into that more than if you make a mistake or call a group the wrong thing, or you say Mexicans instead of Guatemalans. I think people hear your heart more. And so I think the more that we can go out and we model that for our students, that's the best teaching, is when we model the behaviors that we're expecting everyone to do. We want they're always watching. And so I think there's a lot that we can do.
Thank you.
I have a question of the three panelists other than Nicole. Within your organizations, there is a potential demographic that would encompass everybody that you work with, that are the military-connected population. Have you ever done any type of survey to find out who within the people you work with have served in the military? Because in what I do in creating transitional programs for the men and women leaving the military, now coming to academic life, I've created a number of different partnerships within veteran service programs in Chattanooga. That there are potentially a lot of veterans within your community who are not getting their full veteran benefit, to where they can get education, where they can get guaranteed home loans, where they can get medical services. The Hamilton County recently hired a full-time veteran service officer, Chuck Alsonbrook, who's great. He comes on campus regularly to help out with the student veterans. You might find that there are a lot of veterans out there who either served or had family members serve, who are not getting their full benefits because they don't know what to do with it. And I'm more than happy to help assist with any type of veteran identification process and to assist any veterans who might have issues. If you find within your organization you have a number of veterans within your population that you could potentially serve, then you can also potentially become a veteran work site where any student veteran using GI Bill can then work for you in assisting veterans within your population and VA will pay them to be there. These are some of the, the different things you could potentially do to improve the services within your population.
Thank you. I'll use you as a resource. I typically work with high school students and don't delve a lot into like their family background outside of socioeconomic status, but love connecting students and families to additional resources. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And as we wrap up, do you have a question?
I do.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I want to know, you keep saying bridging the community and everything. Who is the community? I've seen UTC change, and I stay right down at the end of the street. What do you do, or how are you reaching out to the black community? I've heard a lot of stuff, and as far as education, and that's fine, I'm all for education, but I've suffered a lot for education, and primarily in UTC. I've seen it change. I've seen UTC build. I was here, almost 54 years. So I remember the first building, and we've lost houses where it's pushed us out further. So how are you reaching out to us? I've seen it when UTC wasn't so friendly and so welcoming to us. My aunt went here, and it was hard. And I've just seen the makeup change, and you're saying community. Who's the community that you're reaching out? Because primarily is UTC. Even over on ML King, when they've lost buildings and they've lost things, how are you reaching out in that aspect to us, and what are you doing, and how are you welcoming us? I've sent generations to other schools. I myself went to TSU because I wasn't comfortable with UTC because UTC wasn't so friendly to me. It all sounds good on paper what everybody's doing, but what are you actually doing? There's no action for me as far as putting, you've recruited athletes and you've done that, and those is going because they want to go, but when they get here, it's hard and they're not coming back. A lot of them are not staying. What are you doing? What are you doing, to win us over, or are you going to the schools? Even as far as CSAS, when it was a predominantly black school, you came over, and now it's the makeup has changed and everything. So what are you doing for us? And what are you doing to recruit us? And then I love the idea that you're saying you following through and hooking them up with this resource, because there is a lot of first-time college students, and if you don't know how to maneuver through the system, you get frustrated and you say just forget it. So while we're talking, let's be real about the situation, because there's a problem here, and I for one can tell you because I've lived here, right here on campus. They've had, and I know this has been some years when the police will stop me and I'm saying I'm walking home because I'm surrounded by your fraternities and your sororities. And when you got rid of the Alpha House, which was actually the only black fraternity there, and Lambda and everything was doing everything. So as far as with UTC, it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. So what are you doing to correct that? I realize, like I say, that we've come a long way. There's still a long way to go.
I'm going to let Dion answer that question and whomever else, but can I just say I love that question. I hear you, and I really do appreciate how you've framed that question, and yeah, thank you for that.
So I can't answer it in terms of what UTC is doing for the community, but I can talk about the Cultural Center. And so we have many programs where we've worked with AARP to bring in veterans and the elderly to have programming so that they have resources for them. We do educational programs to talk about the history of Chattanooga and how we move forward. And I don't know if you're on social media, but we're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and we're always promoting the programs that we have. We have a free concert series on the lawn to bring the community together every Thursday night from 5:30 to 8:30, where we bring the community together through music. And so despite our differences, the music is diverse, the community is diverse, the people who attend are diverse, but that's a way of bringing everybody together and connecting us in a way where you can get to know your neighbors. But like I said, having programs and services that reach out and share. I'll tell you, this is a funny story. It's kind of off kilter. When I took this role at the Bessie, I really thought we were just talking about art and music. I mean, that's really, and art is music, but that's where I thought my focus was. But we are a resource for the entire community. I mean, so much so that we have people that call us and ask us, how do I get to the Megabus? And I thought, well, I don't know. I've never written Megabus. And they said, well, you're the Bessie Smith Cultural Center, right? You should be able to tell me how to get around. So we Googled where the Megabus was and literally gave this woman directions and stayed on the phone with her until she got to the Megabus stop. I mean, that's how we serve as a resource for our community. If you come to us with a need, we make sure that we connect you to that need. And so that's what we're doing on our end, but I can't speak to how the university itself is connecting to the community.
I hear you, and you are absolutely right, and there is continued work to do, and for you to share the statement about walking home in your neighborhood, and this campus is in your neighborhood, no, those things should not happen, and you are absolutely right, and I applaud you for saying that in this public forum where you have witnesses that have heard you, and hopefully that you know, as we move forward, that those kind of conversations will be addressed so that won't happen to nobody else that's paying taxes that live in this residence. This is your home, and that should not continue to happen. So we thank you for sharing that with us, because we have to address that. Dr. Sam?
If I may, I feel compelled to say something, although I'm trying to be quiet and silent. Those of you who know me know that's hard. There is a lot of work yet to be done. Believe that, and we recognize that. One of the things that we're doing is we're trying to stand in our truth. We're trying to acknowledge all those things that you're saying. Our police department recently, over the last 3 or 4 years, have gone through any number of diversity trainings facilitated by my staff and other professionals around being culturally competent, being aware and sensitive to word choice and actions and behaviors. We're also trying to make sure that our students are valued and have great opportunities for ownership in campus life. We have way more student programs and organizations than we've ever seen. I went to school here in 1988 as a freshman, and I'm not trying to date myself, but that's been a little while. And this campus is so vastly different from when I came here as a freshman. There are so many opportunities that Antonio and some of these other students that you see here today have that previously were not available to students. We have a beautiful multicultural center that we're sitting in right now. That's a conscious, informed decision that the campus has made to try to do a better job at making sure that students are welcome, that students understand that they're welcome, that they are supported. We sent maybe 40, 50 students to the inauguration. 26? 26, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying
He wasn't a chaperone, so I know.
Yeah. She actually made sure. We sent a number of students to the inauguration for the second term of President Obama. We're doing some things. We've started a number of outreach programs. Melanie was talking about, Lori, I said Melanie, Lori Melanie was talking about the debate program where we're working with Howard, Tyner, Brainerd, a couple other high schools in the city to try to make sure that they see themselves credibly here at UTC. Those students that participate in that debate program, they get scholarships to come to school here. So it is not perfect. We recognize that we got a long way to go. We got a lot of work to do, but there are some things that are taking place. And I wanted you to know that.
And thank you for that. I'm just being honest. I don't know anyway. To me, UTC actually should reach out because you shut down a lot of those black things here. Personally, I know this is going to sound awful, but I feel great because I don't have a school that I went to that's open now, except the one that I was shipped to across there, because right there where I went to, where I lived across where the Space Center UTC came, and they closed that down right there where your the big new building. I went to school there and they closed that down, and So, I mean, while I appreciate and applaud your effort, I just say that there's much work to be done.
So what I would like to ask you is, as the Chattanooga African American Museum, will we preserve the legacy of African Americans in our community? If you have photos from that school, if you have information about your schools, bring them to us, because we can preserve it in the museum where it will live on forever in our walls, and you can always come back to it. Your children and your grandchildren can come in. So we would ask you to share that information with us so that we can document it and keep it for historical reference, so that it's never lost. The building may not be there, but the feeling behind it and the photos can still remain for others to see.
And I would also say that, you know, I hear your concerns a lot too, and being on CMAC is something that's good. You're saying it to the right people, okay? On the same end, I would just encourage all of us, myself included, to reach out to students, police officers, to our community members, and join in conversation. If that just means you go into a local police officer or a student and saying, hey, I would love to try to bring a few people together and have lunch, or have a conversation over coffee, so we can, you know, as you who've been a resident, you have students here who have not been a resident of Chattanooga for very long. I would value, as a student, I would value your feedback about the history of Chattanooga, where they're stepping, and that. But obviously, you have to have an opportunity to do that. So, you know, just make sure that you're also putting yourself out there to provide those opportunities as well.
I've done that and I've had conversations, but I'm about tired of conversation. I want action behind those conversations. It's all well and good to talk, but if you ain't doing nothing, it's just talk.
And we
Faith without works is dead. It's just dead.
Thank you. And thank you so much for the feedback. Thank you for the questions. Thank you to our panelists. But we've been using the word conversation, and every conversation must come to an end. And at this point, we've reached the end of this conversation, but we have a lot more conference to go. So I want to encourage everyone. We passed out an evaluation form for this session. So please fill out the evaluation form and give it to any one of our student volunteers. We have Antonio here. If you have it with you, please hand it in on the way out. And I want to thank you so much for taking time out to spend with us this morning. The time went by quickly because we had a lot of very important information and very useful information, I think. We learned a lot about you, about your passion, and about how we can get involved, what we've done right, and what opportunities we have to go. So let's give our panelists a round of applause.